For the past 20 years, the Toyota Tacoma has been the absolute favorite in the midsize pickup truck segment. In fact, when Ford decided to pull out of this space with its Ranger back in 2011, Toyota essentially gorged themselves on 250,000 sales in America every single year. Now for 2024, there's an all-new 4th generation Tacoma, and this is not just some heavy refresh that you were expecting. No, this is a comprehensive redesign. We're talking about an all-new frame, all-new powertrains, an all-new exterior design, and a brand new interior with modern tech interfaces that you expect from today's modern pickup trucks. So as you can see, this week, Toyota has loaned us the Cream de la Crop, a TRD Pro, a nameplate that has been around since 2017. It comes standard with turbo hybrid power under the hood, a part-time 4-wheel drive system, and even more technology and capability versus the previous generation. So the big question I want answered, for those of you who are looking for the ultimate mid-size off-road pickup truck, has Toyota managed to raise the bar even higher with this new TRD Pro Tacoma? Stay tuned to find out. Now with a full redesign, there's obviously a lot to talk about with the exterior styling changes. Before we do that, I wanted to go ahead and pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing. Now here in America, the Tacoma is offered with a choice of 2 different turbocharged 4-cylinders. The TRD Pro comes standard with the more powerful option. It's the iForce Max engine, which pairs a 2.4-liter turbo with a powerful electric motor. Now as you can see underneath this hood, which kind of looks like an electrical nightmare of a mess, usually Toyota will put like a cover underneath here to kind of clean up the engine bay, but regardless, this powertrain is known as the iForce Max because it pairs essentially their V6 replacement. It's a 2.4-liter gasoline direct injection turbocharged 4-cylinder, of course. The engine on its own delivers 278 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. The iForce Max essentially adds a powerful 48 horsepower electric motor that's sandwiched between the engine and the 8-speed automatic transmission. The electric motor delivers 48 horsepower on its own and 184 pound-feet of torque. When you combine the outputs of both powertrains, you get a maximum of 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. That's about 48 horsepower more than the previous generation TRD Pro's V6 and a whopping 200 more pound-feet of torque, courtesy, of course, of the turbocharger and the electric motor. Like I said earlier, an 8-speed automatic is included, along with a part-time 4-wheel drive system with a locking rear diff and a disconnecting front sway bar if you need to get a little bit more axle articulation. Now, of course, this being a hybrid, it does have a 1.87 kilowatt-hour nickel metal hydride battery pack that lives underneath the rear seat, and it does improve the fuel efficiency of this model to a rather impressive, if I do say so myself, 22 in the city and 24 on the highway, about 23 combined. That's basically beating every other off-road oriented mid-size truck that offers this level of performance with, that combination of efficiency. You have an 18.2 gallon fuel tank. You should do around 400-ish miles of range between fill-ups on a full tank. Thankfully, that's also on regular grade gas. This is still a pickup truck, so Tacomas can tow a maximum of 6,500 pounds. This model, however, maxes it out at 6,000. It has a payload capacity of just over 1,600 pounds, which is also pretty decent. And in terms of the curb weight, this is also going to be one of the heaviest models of the Tacoma. The only thing that's heavier is the long bed trail hunter version. As this one sits, it weighs in at around 5,300 pounds. So it's a good like 800 pounds heavier versus the prior generation. I also want you to notice that the TRD Pro comes with a factory-tuned performance air intake, which also has a washable filter with the red, intake hosing. It definitely looks better here, but I kind of wish Toyota would have put some kind of engine cover here to kind of clean up the wiring mess of this 2.4-liter engine. But closing the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling changes. In fact, when I first saw this mid-size truck segment getting kind of a resurgence, it was General Motors who launched, or who started it, of course, with the Canyon in Colorado. The Canyon was my favorite looking truck in the segment. Now that distinction belongs to the Tacoma, especially on the TRD Pro in the right colors. You can see this ice cap metallic exterior color looks fantastic with all of the black accents. There's a fake hood scoop, unfortunately, on the TRD Pro, but I do love the way it looks with the bulging creases that you're going to see, the big Toyota Heritage grille, which spells out Toyota, along with the functional light bar that's integrated below that. That bar only functions when you have the high beams on, and it's only designed to be used in off-road situations. You can see there's an integrated front camera, integrated parking sensors, there's Rigid Industries LED fog lights, which look fantastic as well. And you can see the headlights. All Tacomas come with full LED headlights, but the upper trims like this model has a premium LED where it includes an LED sequential turn signal, LED daytime running lights, LED low and high beams. This sadly over here is a fake looking vent. But you can see a lot of the black accents, and then the TRD Pro comes with the TRD stamped skid plate underneath. It's all aluminum skid plates, designed of course to function as almost like a bash plate when you guys are going off-road. The front bumper is unique to improve the approach angle, obviously. And especially in this white color with the black two-tone roof, this thing just gets attention everywhere. It has the perfect design that really kind of looks even better versus the new Tundra, but it also kind of reminds you that it's a baby Tundra. And this thing got stares and compliments everywhere I took it. So Toyota, you did a phenomenal job with the exterior styling of the new Taco. Now moving around the side profile, the new Tacoma got substantially larger versus its previous generation. First of all, if you want a TRD Pro, it only comes as a crew cab with a shorter 5-foot bed. That's why the Trail Hunter exists, to give you the crew cab and the longer 6-foot bed at 231 inches. I'm sorry, at 214 inches long in the overall length. It's around 2 inches longer than the previous generation. The wheelbase has been stretched to 132 inches. That's a 5-inch stretch versus the previous generation. Its width is also a little over 80 inches wide. This is around 5 inches wider than the old TRD Pro, and it's around 4 inches taller as well. So that's why this thing just has a much meaner presence to it. It looks more like a Tundra as opposed to a Tacoma. Now, the one thing that I could have done without are these black painted wheel arch moldings on the TRD Pro. Now, you could go around that by going with a darker color like the underground color or the black exterior color, but when you have it in this ice cap white, it really just clashes a little bit too much for me. These wider fender flares are unique to the TRD Pro. You get a TRD Pro badge there, and then of course the wheel and tire package. All TRD Pros come with these these satin black finish 18-inch alloy wheels with the TRD center cap. It's outlined in red. It looks nice. You have, I believe, a 13.5-inch brake rotor front and rear, all disc brakes finally. Remember, the old Tacoma had drum brakes at the back. You have an independent front suspension multi-link design with Fox 2.5 shocks at all 4 corners. Obviously, that's going to improve the articulation and give you more ground clearance. It has technically a 1-inch suspension lift at the front, a 1/2-inch suspension lift at the back. Compared to the regular Tacoma, however, this is around a 2-inch suspension lift with around 11.5 inches of ground clearance. The tires are a Goodyear Wrangler Territory all-terrain tire on a 265/70 R18. This is a 33-inch tall all-terrain tire, and I kind of wish Toyota would have fitted this thing with a 35-inch tire. I suspect some owners may do that in the aftermarket, but I'm not entirely sure if it'll actually fit without rubbing the wheel wells. For those of you who have done so, let me know in the comment section below, because I think this truck would actually look even better with a 35-inch tire. You can see the black roof looks really great with the contrasting white exterior color. You also have a black painted side mirrors. These are not power folding, sadly, but you do have an integrated turn signal with a camera mounted there. You also have just a standard sunroof. If you guys want a sunroof in the top off-road versions, you have to go for a TRD Pro. The Trail Hunter is not available with a sunroof. You can see you also have some rock rails here, which are designed to, again, protect the vehicle when you're off-roading. The door handles are black painted, which I think those should have also been body colored. Moving around the rear of the truck, you can see it really takes a lot of design cues from the new Tundra. I really love the design language back here with a similar look to the full LED taillight design. It has a big stamped TRD Pro at the back instead of Toyota, along with the iForce Max logo there to let you know that you have the standard hybrid powertrain. This is a rear bumper that's metal by ARB with some integrated red tow hooks, integrated trailer wiring, of course, with the trailer hitch at the back. You have a full-size matching spare underneath there with a matching alloy, I believe, which is necessary when you're off-roading. And then over here, you can see the TRD Pro comes standard with the TRD Pro catback exhaust system. It's a 4-cylinder turbo, and you guys are probably wondering, how does it sound? So let's go ahead and fire it up and hear how it sounds real quick. Now, Obviously, it can't compete with the sound of that naturally aspirated V6, although at times that old V6 was a little drony, so I'll have to talk about that later on during the driving scene, but it's a nice improvement in sound compared to other trims, which is nice. Just like on the Tundra, you have this little button here that you can basically push on either side that opens up the tailgate, or you can also push the button here. It has a power opening and closing tailgate, which I love. You can't even find this feature on some of the competitors, which is nice. And like I said earlier, a 5-foot bed is on this trim. If you want a 6-foot bed, go for the Trail Hunter. It can carry a maximum of 1,680 pounds of payload. My test car has the spray-in bed liner along with the bed map. You have integrated LED lighting along with tie-down hooks, of course. There's also a 2400 watt power outlet back here. If you guys want to go camping, you want to power some tools, power like a grill or refrigerator, that's definitely a plus. This is a missed opportunity for Toyota to kind of include some kind of increase in the output for the Pro Power on board. That's something that Ford does with their hybrids, but still it's an improvement over the regular Tacoma. But overall, the bed area, you can still get it with like a bed extender. You can get it with a tonneau cover, obviously, and it's going to be pretty usable. But if you want more bed space, go for the Trail Hunter. That can definitely give you a little bit better, capability if you guys want to go overlanding. So on the outside, Toyota obviously nailed the exterior styling, but what about the interior? This is where Toyota basically took a lot of the lessons that they learned in the new Tundra and applied it here on the Taco. Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current Toyota Intelligent Access key with their smart entry system. You can see it has the usual buttons here for lock, unlock, power opening for the tailgate, and then a remote or a panic function. This vehicle also offers a digital key function where you can use your smartphone as a key. If you guys are an owner, that's part of an optional package that you can get on certain trims. But as you can see, coming to the exterior door handle, it's a traditional pull style. There's a little area here where if I touch that, that will lock the doors for me. There is no auto walkaway lock or unlock feature. Toyota sadly doesn't do that. The mirrors, as you guys saw, do not electrically fold in, but if I touch the back here, you can see that unlocks the door for you. Now, my particular test car has probably the best color combination for me on the TRD Pro. The other one may be the Underground, followed by the Terra color. But the Terra color you cannot get with this beautiful cockpit red Softex leather interior. So this is a synthetic leather material. These seats are unique to the TRD Pro. They are known as the isodynamic seat, and that's because the seats have their own oil over air coil system, suspension system, and that's designed to essentially isolate you from even harsher impacts when you guys are doing some high-speed off-roading. There's also a setting where you can change it to an off-road or a street setting, which again adjusts the shock dampening of the seats. The seats not only look fantastic, but they're covered in a high quality Softex material with this kind of carbon fiber look here for the TRD badge. The seats are also heated and ventilated, and you have a 6-way power adjustment for both seats. Sadly, no memory function. The recline feature is actually manual, but you can move the seat forward and back and up and down with power, and then it also has a 4-way lumbar support. I kind of wish that it would have just included a power recline as well. Keep in mind, if you guys don't like these seats, which they look great, but they also take up space in the back seat, the Trail Hunter has a completely different seat, which offers a full 8-way power or 12-way power adjustment. But I have to say, with the cockpit red, it looks phenomenal with this ice cap exterior color. Now, looking at the door panels, you can see you have a nicely upgraded material here versus the last SR5 Tacoma that I tested. You can see it's covered in a Softex material with some contrasting stitching, so it's nice and padded. You have more padding with the red leather here, soft touch here where you'd rest your elbow. The window controls, they are covered, or they're the plasticky controls, but they're illuminated at least, and they're one touch up down for all 4, so that's really nice. I would have liked to see Toyota include power folding mirrors, especially at this price point. They should have just included it. You have some kind of like camo texture to some of the grab handles here. You have carbon fiber look trim here with the TRD Pro badging. There's a 10-speaker JBL premium sound system, which sounds decent. It's not the best in class, but it sounds pretty good. You have some more storage down here, hard touch plastic over here. But overall, the interior certainly makes a great first impression. Just keep in mind, there are no running boards, and these are essentially the rock rails. So to get into this truck with 11.5 inches of ground clearance, I wish there was a grab handle here, but I kind of just use my hand and kind of hoist myself up as I pull myself into the driver's seat. Now let me go ahead and shut this door. The door actually has a really solid sounding thunk. That's courtesy, of course, of tuning and the TNGA-F architecture, which is a new body-on-frame platform that they first introduced on the Tundra a couple of years ago. Now, starting the truck up, you can see the start-stop button is up here. I don't know how I missed it, but push that, you can see the engine just kind of whirs to life and it'll say ready there. Now, not every time does the engine start up, because remember, this is actually a full hybrid. It's not a mild hybrid, nor is it a plug-in hybrid, but because it is a full hybrid, it does have the ability to drive on electric power alone when the battery has enough charge at light load conditions, especially if you guys are stuck in rush hour traffic. There's a fully digital 12.3-inch cluster, which is slightly customizable. You can change the way those gauges look to go to a single dial look, or the twin dial, or a more like calm look where you don't have all of this, information overload. You can also put the GPS there. The steering wheel was basically lifted out of the new Tundra. There's a TRD badge over here. Surprised you don't have contrast red stitching, but you do have that racing line there at the very top of the steering wheel. You have some actual hard buttons for the audio for the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. This is one of the only trucks in the segment that includes full speed range adaptive cruise control, lane trace, and lane keep assist. And it also has their pre-collision system where it actually will actively drive for you even if the adaptive cruise isn't on. And Toyota's system actually works really well. There's a manual tilt and telescoping adjustment for the steering wheel, which offers a good amount of adjustability and range. The seating position in this truck is just much improved. No longer do you feel like you're sitting on the floor like in the previous generation or in the previous generation 4Runner. It finally gives you a nice commanding view of the road. You do have to look over that big hood scoop, which is fake, but it kind of reminds you you're driving a special version of the Tacoma, so that's nice. No paddles on the wheel, which would have been nice on the TRD Pro. The horn, it has a nice tone to it that matches the presence of the truck, which is good. You can see the heads-up display is included on this trim as standard. You have hard touch plastic materials here on the upper portion. The JBL sound also includes this little pop-out speaker here, which you can pair up to your phone and just use as a Bluetooth speaker. It's a really cool feature that's included when you go for the JBL sound. And then you can see the TRD Pro comes with the big infotainment system. The standard setup is an 8-inch unit with an 8-inch unit in the instrument panel. This is the full 12.3 and 14-inch display. You can see it's got embedded GPS that runs off of the cloud system or cloud software. You can see this is Toyota's latest connected services system, which we've seen before in other Toyotas. You can also expand it now to get rid of this little bar at the side, which gets you back to the native system, or you can also compress it to show that again. It works really well. Now, some may argue that the system can have a little bit of a learning curve. Again, there could be a little bit more customization in here, especially if you want to change some of the colors or the ambient lighting in this truck. There's none of that as you guys expected because it's just a Tacoma, but most of you will have it on the CarPlay screen anyways. If I put the truck into reverse, you can see there's your full 360 camera with a top-down view. It has trajectory, it has distance markers, it has cross-traffic braking. You can also go into multiple views here, which is unique to the TRD Pro to go off-roading. You can also go look into the bed, which is really cool there. I love that. And that one actually is locked, but you can also go into like an auto mode. You can also go into an off-road camera mode as well. Although if you're looking for like the under view cameras, I don't believe the Tacoma offers that. That's something that you can get on the GMC twins, but you can see there's like a full 360 perimeter scan, which this is just so much better than what Toyotas have done in the past for their full 360 camera system. So glad to see that they've made some nice improvements in this. Is it best in the class? No, but it certainly is a big improvement, especially if you guys are coming from the old Taco, which remember the old Taco maxed out at an 8-inch display. So this is just such a huge improvement. Now, in terms of the rest of the dash, you can see you have some more of that fake carbon fiber here, a nice little storage tray over here. I believe there's also actually USB, or there should be an actual plug over here. Yep, a plug over here where you can plug in your phone via a USB dongle if you don't want to use the wireless functionality. Down over here you can see you have dual zone climate control, heated steering wheel, you have heated and ventilated seats, which those features you can't even get in the Ranger Raptor. There's a wireless phone charging pad here, 2 USB charging ports. This controls the 8-speed auto. There's a nice beefy grab handle here for the passenger when you want to scare them when you're going off-roading on those high-speed runs. You can see this is your electronic parking brake here. The shifter, I love the traditional aspect of the shifter with its sport mode there, so that's really nice. This also controls your drive mode selector. You can see going between the drive modes, there's an eco, a normal, and a sport, and then you can also go into the multi-terrain select, which is their latest generation. Which the multi-terrain select is only available when you have it in the 4-wheel drive. You can see the 4-wheel drive system is controlled via this toggle, which it's a part-time system, so most of the times you're going to have it in 2 high unless you're off-roading. You'll put it in 4 high. 4 low requires you to go into neutral. If you want a full-time 4-wheel drive system, you have to buy the limited trim. It's the only trim that gives you a full-time system. You also have downhill assist control, a tow haul mode, of course. But most of you are just going to drive this truck out on the road. You have your rear locker right here, camera button. You also have a sway bar, front sway bar disconnect that gives you more axle articulation in those off-road conditions when you're rock crawling. So again, wonderful off-road features that really make this truck among the best in the business. When you want to go off the beaten path, you can see over here, decent cup holder storage, nice padded center console area. Open this up, you can see it's relatively deep. A lot of my camera equipment fits in there, although I guess it could be a little bit deeper. But again, this is a mid-sized truck. The seats, like I mentioned earlier, look fantastic, but it's covered in a beautiful Softex material, a fake leather with really good padding and good bolstering. So I found the seats to be extremely comfortable, and the cooled function works well. You have a glove compartment here, which you can see goes into the dash. So the lid is damped, but not lined with felt. It offers a good amount of storage. You can see the digital camera review mirror is also standard. If you don't like that, you can basically go to a regular mirror, and you can also open and close that via this little button over here, which most trucks in the class offer this, although the Tundra offers a complete roll down rear window. Not sure why the Taco doesn't want to offer that. You can see there's a woven material for the headliner, a standard sunroof. This sunroof is included on the TRD Pro. You can't get a sunroof on the Trail Hunter, so kind of keep that in mind with its traditional shade. But overall, the interior is pretty similar, of course, to other versions of the Tacoma, but just keep in mind the TRD Pro does come with some unique aspects, especially if you guys want a red interior. This is the only trim level that offers that red. Moving to the back seat, this is where the new Tacoma does give up some rear seat legroom, especially when you look at the previous generation or the competition. This is where I'm also surprised Toyota didn't want to improve the rear seat legroom space, considering it has a 5-inch stretch in the wheelbase. Now, first of all, the materials back here are a downgrade from the front. So you have hard touch plastic materials over here and over here. It is thankfully slightly padded over here where you'd rest your elbow, although it could be a little bit softer. You still have a one-touch up and down rear window back here. The plasticky door handles do look a little bit cheap. There's some fake carbon fiber here, some good door storage. And then as you can see, these seats, I love the fact that Toyota carries over the red with the technical camo insert as well, which definitely looks good, especially in certain lights. You can see the rear seats themselves. This protrudes out another couple inches, and Toyota says there's 33.7 inches of rear seat legroom, but I'm kind of looking at it and going, where? This looks like there's probably like 28 inches of legroom, and because the battery pack lives underneath here, these seats do not fold up, so you kind of lose that functionality and the storage over there. You can still pull this right here and then fold this seat back down to access the tools to, I guess, change out the spare tire, and a little bit of storage over there along with the JBL sub. But in terms of practicality for the backseat area, the TRD Pro definitely forces you to make some compromises. Now, getting back here, there is a nice little grab handle. You also have to be careful you don't scratch up your knees on the back of this seat. As you can see, let me go ahead and shut the door. This is where I would have the front seat to drive in my driving position, and this, guys, is really, really tight. I mean, 33.7 inches, definitely doesn't feel that way when you're back here because this protrudes out. It gets really close to my knees. Now, I will say that I can sit back here. My feet does have space underneath there, but if I wanted to cross my legs, forget about it. I can't even do that. I imagine some rear seat passengers might even be messing with the isodynamic seats here. You can see that's where you adjust. See if I can zoom in there. That's where you adjust it from road to off-road on the shocks. You can also adjust the air pressure and the oil pressure there. So that's something to, you know, it's a cool little feature along with the exposed screw heads, but this is definitely eating into your practicality. Thankfully, you do have cup holders back here. You actually have that same power outlet back here that's in the bed into the cab area. You have 2 USB-C charging ports. Sadly, no rear seat air vents. Rear seat air vents would have been nice back here, especially at this price point. And you also don't have an armrest that folds down here. This is, again, another feature that would have been nice. In terms of the headroom space, you can see there is a cutout here that allows me to have a little bit more headroom, but if you could easily hit your head on this portion here, which kind of, you know, is required to actually house the glass for the sunroof when you open it. But overall, the backseat area of the Tacoma TRD Pro is definitely the most disappointing aspect. And just keep in mind, these seats eat up into the space even more. So if you need more space, don't go for the TRD Pro, or just go ahead and buy a Tundra. So here we are back behind the wheel of basically the Halo version of the Toyota Tacoma, the TRD Pro. It's been about 5 months since I had a chance to drive this vehicle at the first drive. And I have to say, when I also drove the vehicle the first time at the first drive, I didn't get a chance to take the TRD Pro out on the road. Toyota only let me drive it out on an off-road course that they had set up. So it's great to finally be driving this truck out on areas where most people who buy this thing are going to actually drive this car now, or this truck. Now, I will say that the seats, the isodynamic seats in this car or in this truck, I'm sorry, I keep saying car, are so comfortable. They hold you in place nicely, yet they're comfortable and supportive. The, you know, soft text, the fake leather feels good. This model comes standard with the iForce Max powertrain, so we have that 2.4 liter turbo 4 with a 48 horsepower electric motor delivering 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque. That's 200 more pound-feet of torque versus the old TRD Pro, if anyone's keeping count. Hooked up to an 8-speed automatic with part-time 4-wheel drive. Let's go ahead and see what we can get 0 to 60 wise, shall we? I have the truck in sport mode. We'll switch the 4-wheel drive system here into its 4 high to get maximum acceleration. And let's go ahead and see what we can get. I got 6.9 in the regular non-iForce Max power. Brake torque it. It doesn't like brake torquing, so we're just gonna floor it this time. .83 seconds. That is definitely a lot slower than I expected it to be. Keep in mind that the TRD Pro is the heaviest version of the Tacoma. This model that we're driving weighs in at around 5,300 pounds. So I'm gonna try again up ahead. I'm gonna actually switch it out of 4-wheel drive because this is a part-time 4-wheel drive system. It doesn't necessarily, it's not designed to be driven on the road, on pavement in its 4-wheel drive setting. And as you guys saw, when you brake torqued it, it did not like that whatsoever. So that was a little bit of a disappointing, acceleration run there. But let's try it here really quick. And this time I'm just gonna have it in 2-wheel drive mode. We're gonna turn off the traction control also, and let's see if it makes a difference. Even in rear-wheel drive mode, it puts the power down nicely. 7.44 seconds there. So we'll try another run up ahead and we'll see if we can get a slightly faster. That's with it more uphill. So there was definitely something bogging it the first time when I was doing that. And it seems like on dry pavement on the street, this, even though it's rear-wheel drive, it puts the power down nicely. Now, the one thing I really like about this iForce Max powertrain is the fact that it feels like a conventional vehicle. In fact, the TRD Pro has a sport exhaust system from TRD, so it's got like a catback, a little bit of a deeper tone to it. It definitely tries to sound like a V6, plus with the enhanced engine sound that it's pumping in through the speakers. Put my foot down here. The 8-speed auto does a really good job of just putting you right in the meat of the power band. It has instantaneous power because when that turbo is trying to spool up, it's got that 48 horsepower electric motor that's kind of filling in the gaps, that's basically negating the turbo lag. So what you feel is instantaneous thrust. And when the electric motor gives up, you've got the power from that turbocharged 4-cylinder. So in terms of the power delivery, Toyota does hybrids well. It's what they're experts at. And this feels very seamless. It feels very smooth. Yet it feels guttural, it feels powerful, it feels effortless. That's really nice. Now this is riding, of course, on the TNGA-F architecture. The TRD Pro has some Fox 2.5 shocks that are, upgraded with a 1-inch suspension lift at the front, 1/2 inch at the rear. I will say that this truck never lets you forget that it's a truck. The body quivers over suspension, or over any kind of road imperfections. The steering is very light and numb and devoid of feel. You can get the back tires to spin out pretty easily. And I love the sound that this powertrain produces. It really reminds me a lot of what you hear in the Tundra iForce Max with its twin-turbo V6, which tries to sound like a V8. This tries to sound like a V6. So I'm really liking the powertrain responsiveness and the feel. It just feels like it's properly tuned. It's definitely one of the best feeling, actually the only hybrid truck that you're gonna get in the mid-size segment. Let's try another run here. This time I'm just gonna leave it in sport. We're just gonna floor it. I'm gonna turn off the traction control though again. Shifts at around 6,000 RPM. 7.19 seconds there. So that is our best time that we got. And it's an appropriately decent time. Now, what's gonna be faster than this? I just tested the GMC Canyon AT4X AEV, and that was slightly faster at 7 seconds because, again, that truck weighs a little bit less than this because of the battery pack. The Ranger Raptor, which, speaking of which, there's the new Ranger right there, not the Raptor, that has a twin-turbo V6, and that's going to be even quicker. I'm hoping I can get my hands on a Ranger Raptor at some point later this year. So yes, could Toyota make this truck even faster? I would love to see them do like a low 6-second run, but, that's not the point. You don't buy a truck like this to go drag racing. What you're gonna notice, however, is just the feel of this truck. It feels good out on the road. It feels effortless. It feels smooth. It feels very seamless. And then in terms of the handling dynamics, TRD Pro is for off-roading. This is not the TRD Sport. I'm hoping I can get my hands on a TRD Sport at some point. But remember, we have a live axle in the back, rack and pinion power steering up front, obviously with an independent double wishbone setup with the Fox shocks. In terms of handling dynamics, this truck feels big. It feels wide. It's over 80 inches wide. It's 5 inches wider than the previous generation Tacoma with a 5-inch longer wheelbase, a 4-inch increase in the height. I get a sense almost that I'm driving like a Tundra. It's interesting to drive a Tacoma and feel like I'm driving a Tundra because it takes up so much of the lane. These all-terrain tires also produce a pretty good amount of tire drumming noise. For example, I'm going 52 miles an hour. I can definitely hear it pretty loudly in here. Although right now the engine is shut off, I'm just coasting along. This is where you're gonna get even better fuel efficiency. The seats, like I mentioned earlier, are so comfortable and supportive. Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0 works extremely well with its pre-collision assist, of course, adaptive cruise control, lane keep, and lane trace assist. It's actually got some of the best driver assistance you're gonna find in the midsize truck segment. You can't even get this kind of technology on the GM twins. And then the Ranger offers, their version of Ford's Copilot 360, but not Blue Cruise, obviously. Toyota's system just works extremely well. The ride quality, however, in this truck is a little bit bouncy. I was expecting the TRD Pro to be a little bit better with its Fox shocks, but maybe the Trail Hunter will have the best ride with its Old Man Emu shocks. So I'm hoping I can get a hold of the Trail Hunter at some point. If you go for the 6-foot bed, that could give you the best ride quality out of the Tacoma family. In terms of fuel efficiency, that's a big question I'm gonna get, of course, with this being a hybrid powertrain. Now, this vehicle is rated at 22 in the city, 24 on the highway, 23 combined. Those are very impressive numbers considering the fact that you could buy a Canyon AT4X and that's only rated at 16 mpg combined. So this is a solid 7 mpg better, which is insane. In my weeks worth of testing, I averaged about 19 mpg in mostly mixed driving, which is actually pretty darn impressive. That is about I want to say like 5 mpg better versus most of the competitors, especially when you're considering the GMC and of course the Ranger Raptor, although I haven't had a chance to test out the Ranger Raptor for a full week at some point. I'm hoping to do so as well. On the highway, this truck actually did around 23 mpg, so that's bang on with the EPA's numbers, which is an excellent fuel efficiency considering this is a 5,200 pound, big brick with off-road tires and lifted suspension. It's a phenomenal feat. So if you're looking for the best fuel efficiency and off-road capability in this mid-size truck segment, you're basically looking at this truck. It's the reason why Toyota is doing this only with its iForce Max hybrid powertrain. It is just simply the best for street driving in terms of drivability, in terms of efficiency. It's got wonderful real-world acceleration, even if the 0 to 60 numbers don't necessarily convey this as the quickest offering in the segment. When you ignore the tire drumming and the fact that the engine does like to make noises, like pumped-in noises, it's a relatively refined truck. I didn't hear a single squeak or rattle. The build quality is typical Toyota strong. It's what you expect when you buy a vehicle with the Toyota badge. But overall, as a daily driver out on the road, the Tacoma TRD Pro is certainly, easy to live with. You just have to deal with the fact that the back seat is a little bit cramped. The ride never lets you forget that it's a truck, but compared to the previous generation, the levels of refinement and technology and just durability feels so much higher in this new model. It's no wonder that Toyota is charging such a hefty premium for this new generation TRD Pro. So every year in America, Toyota consistently sells between 200 to 250,000 Tacomas every single year. So clearly, the all-new 4th generation is a very big deal for Toyota. This new truck should help Toyota essentially keep maintaining its position as the top seller, because there's a lot of new competition out there in the form of the new Ranger, including the new Ranger Raptor, the GM twins, the Canyon, and the Colorado. There's the new Nissan Frontier, of course. And then at some point, we're also expecting Ram to come out with another basically Dodge Dakota replacement, because they're also planning to, I believe, re-enter the mid-size truck space. So after spending a full week with the top-of-the-line version, the most performance off-road oriented version of the Tacoma, the TRD Pro, I have to say I really like what Toyota has done here with this new generation. Obviously, some of you were a little apprehensive about Toyota replacing the old V6, but the turbo engines that it replaces, or that's taking its place, are just much better in terms of drivability. As you guys saw, the iForce Max powertrain delivers 0 to 60 in this model in around 7.2 seconds. While that is a smidge slower versus the SR5 with the non-hybrid turbo that I tested about 4 months ago, keep in mind this truck that we're driving is also around 700 pounds heavier. So even though this is the iForce Max powertrain with its increase in horsepower and torque, it does have some additional weight to kind of tool around, so it's going to slow down the performance. But in terms of drivability, this engine feels effortless. It's got a wonderful transmission. It gives you the electric only assist that you need around town to also fill in the gaps when you're expecting it to have turbo lag. And I also was really shocked with my real world fuel efficiency. Around 19 mpg is actually really darn good, and close to 24 mpg on the highway, resulting in a little over 400 miles of range. Is just such a big improvement, especially when you look at things like the Ranger Raptor and the Canyon AT4X, which those are likely going to be doing like 15 mpg in mixed driving. This will easily do around 5 mpg better while still delivering similar performance, aside from the Ranger Raptor, which gets that sweet sounding V6. The ride quality, unfortunately, is still pretty bouncy truck, which if you guys are used to that, you're not going to really find too much issue with that. Sadly, those wonderful isodynamic seats in the front, which are comfortable on longer drives and they hold you in place nicely, do eat into the rear legroom space, which the Tacoma already has tight rear legroom space. That's an area where Toyota increased the wheelbase by 5 inches. They should have given this truck more rear seat legroom, but clearly they want you to still go buy a Tundra if you need maximum space. The bed is certainly very usable, but I love the fact that Toyota still offers a choice between either a 5 or a 6 foot bed. This is the only player in the segment really that still offers that choice. And in terms of the design, Toyota really nailed it. This is clearly my favorite looking truck in the midsize space, and there's also a lot of really good looking trucks that play in this segment. Now, really the only other negative that I could talk about is how much more expensive this new Taco has become, because if you want the base SR version with two-wheel drive, it starts at around $31,500, which sounds reasonable until you start adding on some options. If you want four-wheel drive, it's like an extra $3,000. If you guys want to go to this particular model, it's easily twice the price, at a base price of $63,900 for a TRD Pro. Thankfully, these come really well equipped. My particular test car essentially has some accessories and the destination charge, raising the as-tested price to $65,869. So basically almost 66 grand. Used to be, you know, the price you'd pay for a fully loaded Tundra TRD Pro, I feel like, from just a generation ago. And it also represents about a $12,000 to $15,000 price jump versus a 2023 Tacoma TRD Pro. Is it worth it? Is Toyota charging a fair amount of money? I mean, that's debatable, because obviously there's a crap ton more technology and capability and efficiency and power with this new truck. But I do think that Toyota is simply charging more because they can. Because if you think about a fully loaded version of the GMC Canyon AT4X AEV or a Colorado ZR2 Bison, those are also in the $60,000 to $70,000 range. So it makes sense for Toyota to charge that much. Really, the Ranger Raptor is the bargain in the segment at around $58,000, although the Ranger is not available with some of the Tacoma's features, like the isodynamic seats, the heated and ventilated seats, the power sunroof. You can't even get that on a Ranger Raptor. So there's a reason why you'd want to choose this for some of the luxury touches that it gets. But really, if you're looking for the ultimate Tacoma in the off-road midsize truck space, I would argue that the company has definitely raised the bar. And if you can get your hands on one of these trucks, be sure that you can, especially if you can find one at sticker, because I imagine Toyota dealerships are going to be gorging themselves on markups, because everybody is going to want to get their hands on this new TRD Pro. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.